يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، ومكارم الأخلاق ندرسها معا، أدب وتربية على الإحسان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Continuing with the rights of the wife upon her husband as part of the rights that we need to observe in our life and the rights between the spouses, the non-financial rights. The non-financial rights, since as the ulama they categorize the rights of the wife over her husband is to, some of it is financial, the mahr and spending, and the non-financial rights. One of the great rights to be observed, and it's the right of the wife upon her husband, that he lives with her with goodness, that he treat her nice. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live with them with goodness. Al-ma'ruf is anything that is known to be good. And that's by itself is a way that people would exert themselves to make sure that it's all matters of goodness. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِن كَرِهْتُمُوهُنْ فَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. And if you hate them, if you don't like them, but maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring all kinds of goodness from something that you dislike. Not every time you dislike something, you leave it. But if people are already married and the husband doesn't find himself, inclined towards his wife, be patient and be kind to your wife and be pleasant to your wife. As Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and others, they said, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide you from her a righteous son, for example. Maybe things will change. So not every time a person dislikes something that he leaves it. But the point here is, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live with them with goodness. This good living, or the living in goodness together, has many different examples, many different ways. And this is all mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. One of which is, and again, I want you, when we're talking about these rights, have in mind what we talked before about the rights of the husband that he should have and receive from his wife. Because this is how they complement one another. This is how the life become at ease and perfect when both are mentioned together. Because some people, they look at it from one perspective versus the other. So here, for example, the husband is, one of the rights of his wife is that he is patient with the harm that comes from her. And if she's acting in a way that is not good, that he has forbearance. That he does not react to, for example, her fighting or arguing, that he would act in the same way. He's supposed to be patient. He's supposed to control himself. If she goes out of control, he should control himself. And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, استوصوا بالنساء. Take care of the women, addressing the men. فإن المرأة خلقت من ضلع. Because indeed woman is created from a rib. وإن أعوج شيء في الضلع أعلاه. And the most bent part of the rib is the upper part of it. فإن ذهبت تقيمه كسرته. If you try to make it straight, you will break it. وإن تركته لم يزل أعوج. And if you leave it, it will continue to be bent. فاستوصوا بالنساء. So take care of the woman. That means she's not like you. The man is maybe straight, but the woman, she's bent. So if you try to make her like you, you'll end up being divorced. So that means be patient with her. She's not like you and you're not like her. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you different. And this is something that would require for the man then, when she would act in a foolish way or in a bad way, whatever, to be patient. Not to rush into divorcing, for example, and things of that nature. And many of the cases of divorces like this. The wife would say something bad and it's wrong. but the man would not able to take it, and he think that this is attacking his manhood, so he would reply, and they would, end up divorcing of foolish things, and then they regret it afterwards. Also, one of the rights that needs to be observed, and the examples of that, is that he is kind to her, that he laughs with his wife, that he is playful. As the Prophet ﷺ said to Jabir radiallahu anhu when he got married, فَهَلَّ جَارِيَةٌ تُلَاعِبُهَا وَتُلَاعِبُكَ وَتُضَاحِكُهَا وَتُضَاحِكُكَ. You should have married a young one so that she plays with you and you play with her, you laugh with her and she laughs with you. So this is part of how life is. And this is, the seriousness of this life requires for the relationship between the husband and wife to be in that level of, I don't want to say silliness, but it's a good, having to laugh with one another. This is the goodness of this life. One of these rights is to stay away definitely from hitting, for example, his wife. And since he's in charge of making sure that she is upon what is right and what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them, as the Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked about the rights of the wife, he says, وَلَا تَضْرِبِ الْوَجْهِ, do not hit the face. And even though the verse in the Quran that talks about this, it's not about pain. And as Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said, is like with the like of a siwak. And this is the last resort. And it's supposed to be done if there is goodness that comes as a result of that. And not the best of the people, those who would do these types of things. So to stay away from humiliating his wife or abusing his wife, this is definitely something that is the right of the wife upon her husband. To stay away from reviling or cursing or saying anything bad to his wife, and the same thing, the wife should observe that. As the hadith of Muawiyah al-Qushayri radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَلَا تُقَبِّحْ. وَلَا تُقَبِّحْ, that means do not, say any bad words. Like he would say to his wife, you're this and you're that, and things of that nature. This is something that the husband definitely should be away from. One of these things to be observed is to teach her what she needs with matters of the deen, or to allow her to learn her religion. So either he has the knowledge, or he allows her to learn the obligatory actions, the mandatory knowledge upon her, she has to know it. And that's why, as it's mentioned, Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah, he said that the woman should not be prevented from going to the masjid, but of course with conditions, of course, and she's not having perfume on, she's not adorning herself, things of that nature, but or maybe the path going to the masjid might be harmful, but part of that is that she needs to learn her religion. And also one of the rights is to be moderate when it comes to the jealousy, as we talked about it before. And the word al-ghayra, which is usually translated as jealousy, some of it can be bad and some of it can be good. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the authentic hadith that مِنَ الْغَيْرَةِ مَا يُحِبُّ اللَّهُ وَمِنْهَا مَا يَكْرَهُ اللَّهُ. From the ghayra, from that jealousy, is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, and from it is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates. فَأَمَّا مَا يُحِبُّ اللَّهُ فَالْغَيْرَةُ فِي الرِّيبَةِ. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves is if there is a reason for it. وَأَمَّا مَا يَكْرَهُ فَالْغَيْرَةُ فِي غَيْرِ رِيبَةٍ. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates is when the ghayra or the jealousy is there for no reason whatsoever. So, and as we said, this is part of what a man is. If the man does not have any ghayra over his household, then he's basically inverted his pure nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him with. That al-ghayra is that when someone doesn't want to share the most precious thing in his life. The wife is not to be shared with others. So this is what al-ghayra is, and this feeling that a person would get if something like that is threatened in his life, but to be done in a moderate way, not to cause harm, for example, or to cause life to be extremely difficult, or to be extremist in these matters, everything in the middle course of things, following the way of the Prophet ﷺ, not constantly thinking bad and having doubts and these types of things. If a man is married to more than one wife, then he has to be just when it comes to spending the time with each one in their proper time, and especially with spending the night. And the Prophet ﷺ warned that the one would, if he's giving more wife more than the other, من كانت له امرأتان فمال إلى إحداهما, inclined towards one over the other, جاء يوم القيامة وشقه مائل. He would come in the day of judgment with his side is turned one side and not the other. And why? Because he was not being just to both of his wives or so. One of these rights is not to have bad thinking about her, bad expectations, always having, this doubt that she's doing something bad or things of that nature. And the Prophet ﷺ forbade the men from doing things like spying on his wife, for example. That the Prophet ﷺ نهى أن يطرق الرجل أهله ليلا. A man traveling, so he would not tell his wife that he's coming, and he would come at night to make her a surprise and to see what she's doing and things like this. يتخونهم, as if he thinks that she may be betraying him, and he wants to catch her in something bad or something like this, or يلتمس عثرتهم, to seek their shortcomings. This is not permissible whatsoever for a person to be like this, because they need to be feeling secure and having this confidence in themselves, and to honor her honor and dignity. This is against living with goodness with one another, and it's also something that is humiliating when someone is always thought of as betrayals or something that is sinful. All of that is something to be observed, of course. And once you see all of these rights together, then this is how life becomes very nice, and people would observe what is good in their relationship. So the obedience from the wife versus the financial responsibility, the goodness in the relationship. He's very kind to his wife. He is making sure that she's upon what is right and what is good, and he's being kind to her. And of course, we have in the Prophet ﷺ the best example for us to observe. And many other things, of course, to observe and living our life according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. We'll stop here inshallah ta'ala, and we'll continue inshallah ta'ala next time with more of the rights to be observed in our life. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، ومكارم الأخلاق ندرسها معا، أدب وتربية على الإحسان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.